Hi everyone. So this one's quite an important one for anybody that was doing team tennis this season. As we know, unfortunately, that team tennis might be cancelled. For anybody down at the club, just so you're aware, if it is all cancelled, for juniors and for adults, myself and the club are going to be looking at doing lots of things when we can get back on court, and one of them will include an internal league, so we will get lots of match play when we can obviously get round to it. But this video, I just thought, because it's team time, I thought I'd give you some or my thoughts in relation to some things to think about when it comes to doubles. So I'll talk to you about some things that you can discuss at the beginning, some do's and don'ts, and then some kind of set patterns of what I feel that should happen depending on what's going on in the game. So the first thing is you're playing in a match and you turn up. Now hopefully 9 times out of 10 you will know who you are partnering. Not all the time though will you know the strengths and weaknesses of your partner. So the first thing I want to discuss is who would play on the right side of the court, the deuce side of the court, and who would play on the left side, the advantage side of the court. And there's no set thing. A lot of people think that it's the better player of the partnership plays on the advantage side, the left side. There are some reasons why yes, that is correct. But there's also reasons why no, that's not necessarily correct. There's a few more things that, in my opinion, come into it. So first thing you've got to try and think about is the key points in a game. Okay, there's 3 of them that start from the advantage side, the left side of the court, and that's 40 love, 40-30, and advantage. Those 3 points all begin and have got to be dealt with from the returner's point of view on that side. So that person has to deal with 3 of the key points. The person that plays on the deuce side, the right side, only has 40-15. So they've only got to defend. So say for example you're down in the game, it's 15-40, then they've only got to deal with 1 of the points. So that's the first thing to discuss, is who is comfortable with that first pressure shot, that return of serve. Only 1 has to deal with it on the deuce side. The person that plays on the advantage side has to deal with the other 3. So that's quite important. I hope that makes sense. The other thing to discuss then, to kind of contradict that, is that the person that plays on the deuce side of the court will often have probably one of the most difficult starting shots. It's not the serve, it's obviously the return of serve, okay? And that is, if your opponents are good at getting that ball into the backhand of you, if you're right-handed and you play on the deuce side, that is one of the hardest shots to begin. An inside-out backhand across the court back to the opponent. As we know, the percentage play in doubles is a cross-court shot. So that return of serve off that inside-out backhand across the court is one of the most difficult shots to perform. Most of us are quite comfortable with our outside shots, which is your natural shot that's coming round and pulling that ball across the court. But one thing to discuss with your partner is who is comfortable with that inside-out shot. Quite a few people are quite comfortable with being on the advantage side of the court and hitting that forehand, if you're right-handed, inside out back across the court. Most people are quite comfortable with that shot. But who is comfortable on the deuce side at hitting that inside out backhand across back to the deuce side of the court? So there are 2 things to really discuss to begin with. Serves are serves. We should be all practicing and being confident with the serves, but it's who's confident with the return of serve. Okay, the person that's confident you should maybe think, well, that person can play on the advantage side because they're going to be dealing with 3 of the game points or break points, and the person that plays on the right side only has to deal with 1, but they've got that harder shot to deal with. So again, especially when it comes to doubles, for me it's all about encouragement. So it's not the better player plays on the left, the weaker player plays on the right. That's rubbish, okay? You're there as a partnership and you've got to work your strengths together. So I hope that makes sense in relation to something to discuss with if you're playing with someone that you've not played with before. From there, we get into the warm-up. So you're warming up against your opponents. Very important that not only are you warming up, but you pay attention, both you and your partner pay attention to both of the opponents. You can't get a true indication unless you've played them before. You can't get a true indication, but you can just see if they're comfortable at hitting their forehands, if they're comfortable with hitting their backhands. If you're rallying straight up and down, or they're running around and just hitting their forehands all the time, or they're not warming up their backhands, that gives you little indications that the maybe is a bit negative, a bit weaker on their backhand side. And just again, within the warm-up, have a little communication with you and your partner about little Johnny. He's not hitting any backhands. His backhand's not very confident, and just give each other a little bit of communication about how basic points about your opponents. Are they comfortable? Are there lots of spin? And you can visualize if one is clearly the stronger player than the other, and then obviously you know from a tactical point of view who you're going to try and hit the majority of play to, the weaker player. If they're at the net, what are they like at volleying, what are they like at smashing? Do they not come and warm up any volleys? Does that mean they don't like coming to the net? Their serves, have they got the big first serves, or they just dolly dropping their second serves in? Just try and get a few kind of bullet points in the warm-up to discuss with your partner about your opponents. And again, it's something I'll come on to in a minute. Again, it's just getting that communication going with you and your partner, as we know, is absolute key. Okay, so once you've warmed up, we come to the spin, where you go to the net and you've done your introductions and you're going to spin your racket, or you do your rougher smooths or your mountain of valleys to decide who's going to start. So the main things, you'll see a lot of the professionals tend to serve first. Why is that? Is because at a higher level, at a professional level, it's a lot harder to break the opponent's serve because everyone serves so well. So if the person that's starting serves first and they win that game, then if everyone keeps holding their serves, whoever began is always that one ahead. Yeah? And your opponents who had to start with returning are always that one behind. Even though they win their service game, they're always that one behind. So a lot of people tend to serve first. Again, the contradiction of that, certainly at like league level, the person that is often beginning is sometimes quite nervous, and you can sometimes take advantage of that. They might get a couple of double faults in that first game. They haven't really warmed the serves up that much. They've just turned up from work. They've had to quickly get changed, and they've got to go straight into it. So sometimes you can get an early break because their opponents are a little bit, nervous and not warmed up. So there's kind of two areas again to think about. And the majority of people would always try and serve first, but there is a reason why it might sometimes be advantageous to start returning. Which end you start out, again, you think about the weather, and another tactical decision. If you've got the sun really strong at one end, okay, if your opponents, say for example, elect to serve, but they've warmed up from the end facing away from the sun, okay, switch ends, get them to serve from the other end, and they've got to look up at the sun straight away, and they've not had that couple of minutes of practice of getting used to it. So, there's things there that you can really discuss with your partner to how to begin. Okay, so now we're into the game, and again, something to discuss with your partner. Have a plan. Yeah, have a plan of attack of what you're going to be doing to begin with, and that plan should be really based around what you and your partner are comfortable with. Okay, and that's very important. You shouldn't have one of you dictating to the other one, right, we're going to play like this. I want you to serve and volley off your first serve, and I want you to come in and No, both players have to be comfortable with whatever tactic you decide. And you know, and it's simple things, right? Let's just try and concentrate on getting our serves in. And I've talked to you many times about the three most important shots: the first shot, the second shot, and the third shot. So it's the first, it's the serve, it's the return of serve, and that third ball. So a tactic or a plan of action to begin with is, right, let's in these first 2 or 3 games, let's just not make any mistakes. Let's try and make sure we make all 3 of those shots. So whoever's serving first, again, don't tell your partner to serve out wide. Let them be comfortable with how they're going to start, because that's going to build confidence. If they get into it and they get a routine going and they're not making too many mistakes, then it's going to build confidence. And as you're going along, then you can look at some different tactical decisions if needed. But the first thing is to be comfortable in the plan of attack that you and your partner are going to have, and it should be a combined discussion, not one person dictating to the other, because it has to be comfortable for both of you. Okay, so you're into playing. If you're winning, don't change anything. Yeah, what you're doing is working. If you're winning, don't change, just keep going. Make sure you keep the concentration up. Yeah, don't let that slack. You know, even if you're 5-love up, 30-love up, and you and your partner think happy days. And I know within all you guys that are watching this that have played league tennis, we've all been there, and it's all backfired on us. And see if anyone can beat my record. I was 15 years old, 6'1", 5-love, 40-love up. I turned round to one of my mates that was watching from the back, and I said, hang on, I've just got one more point to go. I lost. I lost. From 6'1", 5-love, 40-love up, and I didn't concentrate to get across the line. I lost the match. Can anybody beat that? So keep your concentration up, and you know, even when you're winning, until you've crossed the finishing line. Really important. Don't slack off if you can. When to change something? When you're losing. You know, if whatever you're doing is not winning the match, then just try something. And that's when, you know, it's important that you discuss it together with you and your partner, and come up with a different plan of attack. And it could be, let's try and get to the net a bit more. Let's stay at the back. There's no set rule that you've got to have this formation where one's at the back and one's at the front. If your volleys aren't going very well, then play from the baseline a little bit more. Or your opponents, you know, come into the net a lot, then moonball them, get the balls going up in the air. But just make sure you try and change something if what you're doing isn't winning the match. Don't get to the end of the match and you've lost, but then you and your partner think, you know, we didn't try anything differently there. And another thing, again, it's important, who's winning and who's losing the match. So for example, are you losing the match by making too many errors? Or are they winning the match because they're better tennis players? But if you're losing the match by making too many errors, then it's back to the basics of let's just try and get a little bit more consistency. Let's get these serves in, let's get the returns in, let's get that third ball in. When I go for that volley, let's be really concentrating on that shot and just try and play more balls over the net and in on the other side. Okay, couple of do's and don'ts with you and your partner. Do's, always keep communicating. Yeah, always encourage. And always try. Those 3 key areas. And we've seen it, and there's nothing worse if you're the server and you're a bit nervous and you've just done a double fault, and your partner passes you the ball and just walks to the other side and gets ready. There's nothing worse, okay? And you'll see a lot. One of the things that they do in professional doubles, you'll see them bouncing back to their partner. They'll be holding a tennis ball so no one can see them talking. And the high fives or the knuckles or the whatever happens every single point. Unfortunately, because of the situations going on, we mightn't be able to do the whole high fives, but you know, the racket taps, whatever, when we can get back on court with our partners. But it's encouragement and it's communication, yeah, and trying no matter what. And again, you know, if you're playing with someone that's just not putting in the effort, and they're not getting the feet going, and they're not communicating with you, and in general not trying, again, you've got to ask yourself, well, why are you playing? And you know, those three real key areas: make sure you keep communicating, make sure you're doing lots of encouragement to your partners, and try, yeah. Don't, obviously the opposite of all of them. The other things I would add in, and I mentioned it just before, try not to dictate a way of playing to your partner too much. Let them feel comfortable in the way that they're going to play, yeah? And you encourage them to do it. And yeah, some of you have asked me, you know, I don't play very well in a certain situation, and often my answer back to you, I could play with anybody at the tennis club. I could play with them. I would adapt myself, and I would adapt certain situations that I could play in any team comfortably with any single person at the tennis club. And that's really what we should be getting to. It's yes, that you're going to have personality clashes, and that is something that the team captains do need to consider, personality clashes. You know, if someone's naturally quiet, you know, are they comfortable with playing with someone who's dead bubbly, bouncing, and who's a bit more, come on, you know, do you put two quiet people together and then they end up not communicating for the entire match to each other? And it's quite a big area that I encourage all team captains to look at. It's not just the playing standard of people and who plays good on this side and who plays good on that side, so therefore those two should play together. You know, look at the personalities of people, and it needs to be an encouragement pair in one form or another. Other things that I'd try and encourage you not to do is, and this is quite a funny one, is shout at your shout at your partner when they're about to perform a stroke, yeah? And you've seen it, and they're at the net and they get lobbed and they hear, and all of a sudden you've got your partner shouting, and yours or mine, and it's no, they're no-nos, okay? And we'll get onto that part in a minute with regards to movement and what we should be doing. But don't necessarily, you know, especially if you're in the middle of a point, you can obviously have yes, there is some communication, whether it's mine and you're both running forwards, I'll get it, you know, what have you. But if you see your partner about to perform an actual stroke, don't shout at them. Let them concentrate on performing that stroke. And obviously, discouraging your partner is just a waste of time. It doesn't solve anything. Oh, come on, get your serve in. You know, what's that doing? Nothing. So no discouragement. Just encourage. You know, and find, you know, something that you can discuss with your partner. How do they like to be encouraged? Do they like to be talked to? Do they like you to be quiet? You know, all of these things you can discuss with your partner. So a couple of little, just to finish on, a couple of little things that I'd try and encourage you all to do if you're into the doubles play. The person that's serving, don't stand too close to the middle and don't stand too far wide. You're limiting yourself to the angles you can create in your serve. Unless you've got a lot of movement, swinging movement in your serve, then you're limiting yourself, okay? So just kind of stand halfway, get that serve in, and then once the serve's in, you could then obviously just get ready. And a rough guided area of where you should be, it's roughly in line with the inner tram line, and that's your starting point, yeah? The person that is at the net, your partner, a rough guide again, right smack bang in the middle of the service box. And then you've got adjustment forward and adjustment back, and I've mentioned it in one of the net play videos. The adjustment forward and back depending on how strong your partner's serve is, and also how quick you are at reacting at the net. Remember, you always need a bit of movement, okay? Then obviously whilst you're in the play, and you all know this, that this should be tracking the ball. So if it's hit across the court to the person at the back, you're tracking them that way. They hit the ball back to your partner, your attention should turn to the opposite net player, because they could attack the ball and they could hit it at you the earliest. So you've got to be able to be prepared to react back if you see them making a move. So obviously the no-nos is turn around and watch your partner hit the ball. We all do it, but limit it as much as you can, okay? So that's the person at the net. If you get lobbed, your job, as I said in the video, the person at the net who gets lobbed, your job is to always go and get into the smashing position, the smashing technique, and see if you can have a go at smashing the ball. So if you're at the net, you get lobbed, bang. That's your first reaction, and then you're trying to adjust yourself to see if you can smash the ball. If that person can smash the ball, they smash the ball. You don't have your partner beside you shouting at you, "Mine, leave it, blah, blah, blah." Smash the ball, okay? Give it a go. Your partner, their job, as soon as they see you get lobbed, their job is to silently turn and get ready to cover behind them. And you do that silently, and you do it immediately. If all of a sudden you see your partner does smash the ball, you just turn back with your partner. If it's clear that it's going to go right over their head, that's when it's your job to tell your smashing partner, that obviously who's not going to get it, that you'll go, "Mine," and you go. The diagonal person who runs, it's easier for them person to track the ball with their eyes. That's why, as much as possible, it doesn't happen every time, but as much as possible, have the diagonal person recover the lob, because it's easier for their eyes to track the ball that way. Yeah? The worst thing you could do is you both just stand and look at it, because the balls are quicker than we are. Yeah, that ball that's been hit, that's quicker than what we can run. So the key is to make some type of action immediately. And I'll repeat that. If you're at the net, you're both at the net, the person that gets lobbed, your job is to turn and give it a go, and your partner's job is to turn and get ready to start running, and actually take a few steps behind, start going. You don't just kind of turn and just stand still, and then when you see your partner can't get it, then try and set off. You won't make it. Start going, okay? So if you have crossed over, I ran over to get this shot. I was the person trying to smash. My partner's coming to retrieve it. Bum, 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 bum. Cross. Get out the way. Make sure you cross over. So the person that's running isn't hitting that ball, and you've stayed still, so you're both on the same side of the court, so you'd have to run all the way across to the other side again. You move out the way if your partner's covering you, and get ready. If you can cross and move back slightly, that's even better, because don't forget, your partner at that moment might hit a weaker shot that might get attacked. So if you cross, and a good point to try and cross over to is to cross and get back to around about the service line, okay? If you both end up at the net, try and have a slightly staggered position. And that means, say I'm already at the net here, my partner has received a short ball and they're coming in to attack it. As they attack it, I have a little shuffle slightly closer to the net. So as my partner crosses the service line and they're getting ready for the volleys, I'm about 1 foot, 2 foot, 1 meter slightly further forward. So you've got a staggered position. So I can cut off the angles. They can get it if I get lobbed, because they're slightly behind. If they get lobbed, it would have to be a damn good lob to get over their head if they're only on the service line, because they should be able to get up there and smash the ball. So then you're covering two kind of attacking possibilities. Go, both of you take a couple of steps forward so you have a slightly staggered position if you're both at the net. We all know that if we're at the net and I get pushed out wide towards the tram lines to try and retrieve the ball, my partner should take just one step over. Don't come all the way to the service line. Don't come all the way over to the centre line, because you've come too far. Yeah, just take one step and cover as much of that space left open as you possibly can. Once I've made contact and I have a push back to the middle, your partner pushes back. So you have that kind of staggered but working together partnership. Yeah. There's lots of different positions to start, and you'll hear professionals talking about I formations, where one of them's bent nice and low right in the middle. Yes, you can have a go at that. Personally, let's get the basics as solid as possible, with one person at the back, one person at the net in the central position, and get that reaction, that set play going. Don't be afraid to be the net player and have a go at poaching and intercepting. Give it a go, and you and your partner discuss. I don't mind if you give it a go, and if you mess it up, you mess it up. Being active at the net puts the opponent off massively. Yeah, so all I don't want you to be is that person that stands over near the tram line and doesn't move. Get active at that net, get bouncing around, try and intercept, even if you mess it up. Be active, and we've talked a lot about over the years the movement of that net player forward and back, tracking the ball. But have a go. Always make sure you and your partner decide, right, if I get the serve in, go. So have a go at just going across diagonally to intercept. When do you make the move? When you see your opponent performing the starting forward swing, because at that moment it's very hard for them to change the direction. When you see their eyes focused on the ball, really get them, when it gets to this point, that's when that person can make a move. And I think that's pretty much it off the top of my head. Lots to think about. It's a bit of a long video, but I know some of you are going to set up some WhatsApp groups and have some discussions when unfortunately we were due to be on the tennis court. So this is a nice one for you to watch and mull over. And again, if you've got any questions that you want to fire back to me, fire them back to me. Take care.